Hey everybody, this is Jennifer Lasik from Starfish Living, and this is my first session of my class on 911 time management. And I'm going to just have some documents here that I'm going to flip through. If you want to read the whole document, I just suggest that you hit pause and read it. This one kind of explains why you might want this course, and it gives you a little bit about my credentials and my experience. Okay. This page tells you a little bit about what the course is and isn't. The 25-cent version is that it's very pragmatic, very specific, and it's really not for people who already have great organizational and time management skills. This is more for people that struggle. And then this is probably the most important paper. This is the actual just kind of what we're going to do today. So today's session is going to be about putting first things first, keeping our eye on the ball, stopping the where did my day go syndrome, and how to show work for credit, which is kind of a little joke, but this is basically about setting up your day for success. And this is a saying that I heard on a Randy Pausch video, not sure where he got it. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. And I know a lot of people who struggle with time management will say, I don't even have time to do the things I need to do, let alone time to try to sit down and plan every day. And what I'm going to try to really cement for you during this course is that you don't have time not to plan. It's the planning that's going to free up time and help you be more efficient and help you make sure that your day is productive and effective. So, okay, so things that you're going to want to have nearby. You can see I have my old distressed desk here. I love working on this. This was actually my mom's desk and her mom before her, and so I know it's really banged up, but I just love it. So I'm going to use a notebook today, and I have a dot one. Any notebook or a yellow pad, a piece of paper will work if you want to kind of do this along with me. I like dot notebooks because they help me make little squares, and they help me with my ruler, like to make straighter lines. Not a big deal. I'm also going to be showing you the similar strategies to what we're doing and how you can do it right in a planner if you prefer to use a planner. Okay, and then you'll need a couple of different color markers. I have 5 here, black, brown, red, green, and blue, and I'll explain why I have those colors. I've got a ruler here, and then just my regular pen that I use for everything. And I can see on my screen that there's some kind of funny color things going on. So let me just see if I can make sure that let's see if that seems a little better, doesn't it? Okay, let's just see how that goes. Refocus it, and there we go. Okay, so this is my page, and I already did a little prep work here for so ahead of time so that I wouldn't have to take time to do it. Basically, on the page, what you need is a line that goes across the top horizontally, and then a line that splits the page vertically. So you're going to make a T on your paper. I use washi tape. Honestly, you can just draw a line. If you don't know what washi tape is or you don't like it, it's just a decorative tape. I like it because, number one, I'm a little bit arty, and this is a way for me to put a little bit of color on my page, which somehow makes me feel better about like the kind of scientific, tasky way I approach things. But also, I have a little bit of ADHD, and I find that using a different tape each day gives me a visual cue that helps me remember what page things were on. I'm a very visual person. But anyway, go ahead and make a T. This is where your ruler would come in handy. If you don't have a ruler, you can just, kind of eyeball it and draw a squiggly line. And then the first thing that I always do, and this is to me kind of an important, this is one of those bottom line deal breaker, don't forget to do it, is I always date my page, and I use both the day of the week and the date of the month. So today is Monday. This is September 9th. You can do this however you want. If you don't want to write it out, you can use the numbers with slashes or whatever. And it's really important for me to keep a record of what days things are happening. And you don't have to put the day of the week, but sometimes I have found that it's useful to remember, oh, that was the beginning of the week, or that was, toward the end of the week, when I'm trying to recall things that happened in a project or in a series. So it just kind of makes sense for me. And then I'm going to draw one more line. And I'm going to just make a little box here. I try to do kind of a 2/3, 1/3, like 2/3 on top, 1/3 on the bottom, but it is not a big deal. You just need a little bit of a corner here that you can use as a space. Okay, so these are our 3 boxes. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide this into 3 sections. This side is going to be our kind of our time audit. And this side is going to be kind of our plan, short term and a little bit longer term. And if you remember, it said to put first things first. So the first thing that we want to do actually is not to worry about our day. We want to look at that. This just is really struggling, isn't it? Let me see if I can, because I don't want it. It's going to drive you crazy if it keeps coming in and out of focus like that. Let's see. Let's see if that helps. Okay. So down here, I'm going to put, this is kind of like, for me, my longer term is my week. So this is kind of my week goals you can write, or week project, or, weekly list, or whatever you want to call it. But I do it by week. You might have month here if that works better. You might be writing like a specific project. But I just like to remember what are the things, the big picture things that really have to get done this week. So for me, this week, I absolutely have to get my 2020 calendars to my printer. And those have to get done this week. Another big thing that I have to do is I absolutely have to finalize all my September faith journaling designs. Okay. And then another thing that I have to do is I have to confirm all vendor spots, like all the vending I'm going to be doing at fairs and conferences till the end of the year. I'll put vendorships. That's not even a word, but it's okay. Okay, so these are the things that absolutely have to happen on my week for me to have a successful week this week. And this, maybe that later today or tomorrow I add another thing here, but there really shouldn't be more than maybe 2 to 4 things here, because this is not a to-do list. This is big picture. I will have had a successful week if at the end of the week, I can say that these things were taken care of, these big picture items, if that makes sense, okay? So this is that putting first things first, really remembering what's the goal, what has to get done. And then I'm going to do up here, I'm going to do like today's kind of stuff. And I like to call this, sometimes I call this my do or die list. I just think that's funny. You might call it your now list, your today list, your, whatever. But it's basically, these are the small specific tasks that should be able to get done today and that I want to use my time for. So I'm going to go ahead and draw boxes on this, but you can put bullet points. You can use, like, some planner companies have these great stickers where it's like a list and then you just check it off, but I'll just draw boxes. And I don't always plan the tasks and boxes the same. I just draw as many boxes as can fit in my bigger box, and then if I use them, I use them. If not, that's fine too. Okay, so this is where I would start brainstorming about all the different tasks that I want to make sure that I do this week, So I think about it, okay, I know I need to send my credentials to my colleague who's looking to see what my experience was for certain projects. I know that looking at this, I know that I have to check in with my graphic artist and make sure that she's got the print-ready copies ready to go. I know that in order to get this done, I at least have to finalize my September scripture picks. That'll help me get toward that goal. I know that I have to fill out 2 applications for being a vendor. Okay, so I would just keep going with this, and some of these things are things like, I work for myself, so it's a little different. You might have that your boss asked for a certain report, or a colleague wanted to see if you could, research something, so you might have on here research, I don't know, what would you research? Research, cooperative insurance pools. I don't know. I know, right? Where did I get that? You don't even want to know. Okay. Cooperative insurance pools, or it might be that you wanted to, maybe I'll say I want to update phone contacts. It's been nagging me. Okay. So I've got this list, organize my digital files. And it's kind of this is stream of consciousness. It's like whatever comes to your mind, you just get it down, tasks that you would like to get done today. Okay, so then we're going to leave this sit for just a minute, and we're going to, I want to bring you to something that you probably have seen before, but you'll hear people talk about these quadrants, and they may title them slightly different. Like sometimes I see immediate or urgent instead of now, right? But this is the basic gist of it. There's 4 kinds of tasks that we have in our day. There are the tasks that are very important to our work, and there's a deadline looming. They're due right now. There's things that are really important to our business or our work, like they might be visioning things or, overall yearly goals, but they don't need to be done right now. There's things that are not crucial to the work that we do, but they're like, I sometimes call them housekeeping items, like little things that just need to be done. And then there's things that are not that important and really aren't due right now. Like these things are not that important, but man, they need to be done right now. I've got to get a check out to so-and-so. I've got things like that aren't super important philosophically or vision-wise to your work, but they're have a deadline, okay? And so you put the tasks in these things. And when people talk about the quadrants, they talk about what order you should do things in. And most people have no problem figuring out that these things get done first. Wow, that's a terrible circle. And these things get done last, right? But it's these 2 that often get mixed up, because most of us will use the now and later as the determiner, and so we'll go now, later. But people who really coach about being productive and effective and good in your profession and your work say that actually you should do all the important things first, whether they're due now or later, and then move on to the things that are not important, okay? And that is really, I think, a struggle to do, because we just get very stuck in this quadrant. At one point, I was doing work, and I actually went through everything I did. I was a cultural arts director for a city, and all the tasks that I do in a week or in a month, I put on here, and I found that this quadrant was stuffed. I was spending all my time with these like right now little tasks that were doing nothing for the overall vision of arts in the city, but I was like paperwork and some like immediate accounting things and things like that, and it was keeping me from doing a lot of the important stuff. So it's just kind of good to know that. Now, when you make your list, obviously you want to do the tasks for the day in this order. But when you made this list, remember that you did it kind of stream of consciousness, right? You just made a list. Now, for some people, you are OCD or, highly like you have to have a process, and you're going to want these things to be in the order that you're going to do them. In that case, you might want to just on a piece of scrap paper make this quadrant and put the tasks right in here and then copy them on. I am not I don't worry about that. I feel like it takes up too much time. So what I do is I give my tasks a color code. So if they're important and I want to do them now, I color them green, like a go light. If they're important but can be done later, I do them blue. If they're not important and can be done later, I give them a red, like a stoplight. And then if they're not important but they're due now, I give them brown. I do that because to me, like, brown is the icky color that, like, I always get stuck in that quadrant. And then on my list, I'll go through and I'll color code these, like what things, which quadrant I would put them in, you know? And so I would look at this and I would say, okay, these things are important and have to be done now. These are the things that are important but could be done later. And this thing is not really that important, but they're wanting it now. And then these things are not that important and can be done later. Okay, and so then it's not hard to figure out that with my coding system, I'm going to do the green things first, then the blue, and then I'm going to move to the brown and the red. And so that's kind of an easy way to do it. Now, in addition to the notebook system that I'm using here, some people will go ahead and they will either use like a daily dashboard in their planner that kind of has all their, like, the priorities, the tasks, right? These priorities could be like your weekly stuff. And then this even has a section where you can write down what you ate if you keep track of those things, or appointments, and they prefer to have something like this every day. That's fine. This is actually from one that I designed for my company because people were wanting a dashboard. Another thing is some people just have different to-do lists that they use. This is one that I use that has a to-do list, but it also has like circle backs. And then what I do on here is I just go ahead and I circle the numbers of the to-do things when the list is there with whatever color urgency I've given it. And then I go ahead and follow that. So let me just show you. This is my planner. I'm using a pink binder right now, but I'll probably move to orange soon because it's fall. So I go to my month. In this case, the month is September. And I have a dashboard, and then I have the month here where I just write kind of the big stuff. I have a dashboard that I fill out every month that kind of reminds me of what I'm trying to accomplish. And then I have weekly pages that I'm very functional with my planner. It's color-coded by area of my life, like work, church, family. But I don't, as you can see, I don't do a lot of decorating, and I don't use it for other stuff other than knowing exactly what my day looks like. So at the beginning, right after the dashboard, before the weeklies start, I go ahead and put my to-do list here. And then, I have it, and I will, circle the things that have to be done in those colors and check them off here. And then when the next day comes, I move them back into this tab section. I've got tabs back here. And I put it in there, and then I put a fresh page here. And that kind of allows me to keep everything together in one place. So if a planner method works better for you, that's fine. A little note, I use temporary tabs instead of putting actual labels that are like forever labels on my tabs, because I'm always swapping these out. This one, for example, says Aislinn. My daughter is starting college, and I have paperwork or notes about things she's got to do and deadlines for financial aid. Well, now she started college, so probably in another week or two, I will completely take that section out and file it and then use this for something else. So that's a little tip that I have. Anyway, so you can either use some sort of a to-do or planner that you already have, or you can use the notebook method here, right? But the idea is to really be intentional about where you're spending your time and about how you're determining what your day's priority is. Okay, so let's get to this side. This side is kind of my way of not getting that, I don't know what I did all day, but I know it took me all day to do it kind of thing that happens. So you know how you have like a budget for your you might have a household or a department budget, and you have the proposed budget, but then you have the actual budget, and then it kind of helps you plan because you can see, wow, I thought it was going to be this much. It was actually this much. And then every month you get kind of better at allocating that stuff because you're able to see what the actual was. This is a time audit. This side of your page is a time audit, and it kind of works the same way. Now, I'm using this productivity set from Create 365. Has these really cool time tabs, but you certainly can just write the times here. Like your day starts at 9, you would just write 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, like until whatever reasonable time that you want to keep track of. And this one I like because it goes to 11 o'clock at night, and because I work from home and work for myself, sometimes is my most creative, productive time of day. And so then I want to keep logging at night to see, or if like I start getting to where my husband and I are watching too many shows on television, and I'm like, oh, no wonder I'm not getting as much done. All my evenings are being sucked up. So this is your time actually spent. Not what you want to do, not to keep your appointments for the day. This is like the journal of what you actually did. So using myself as an example, I got up at 8, right? And I started out, I had coffee, and I always do a little bit of reading when I first get up. It's just kind of my own habit. And then at 9 o'clock, I had a call from a colleague. And by the way, that was an unexpected call, which is kind of an important thing to note. And I would normally write the name there, but I'm just trying not to, just trying to keep it kind of generic here. And then at 10 o'clock, I started making, a video, and I did that until noon, but at noon, I ran to the little store down the street. And then when I came back, I did some meal prep for tonight's dinner. And then at 1:30, I got back to my video. So as my day goes on, I just kind of write in here what I'm doing. And I will tell you, it's much better to do it as you're doing it, so that like every time you switch gears, you just quick jot a note. Because later you may not remember, or you may not be real accurate. You think something just took you an hour, but it was actually 2 hours, or you think you just walked down the hallway for 5 minutes, but it was actually a half hour. So the more realistic and accurate you are about noting what your day was, the more helpful this will be later on. Now, one thing you can do is, like, let's say I had a dentist appointment at 2:30, right? And it was going to go, it's a cleaning, it's going to go, about a half hour. And then let's say at 5 o'clock I had a staff meeting, and those meetings always go an hour, so that's going to be till 6, okay? So this is like pre-planned stuff. You can write those in a different color, and the reason for that is then these things are how you're using your own time, how you're making choices, how you're prioritizing. These things are, time things, other things that you can't really, what do I want to say? You don't have as much control over, or they're outside things that are affecting your day, but it doesn't have to do with how you're spending your time necessarily. Okay. And then that'll be kind of keep an idea. Now, what's interesting about this is when you look at my day so far, right? Okay, I made coffee, I took a call from a colleague, then I got involved in making this video, and then I ran to the store, came back to the video. But look at this. Look at my goals here. Okay, in what way do these things help me get toward those goals? Well, I will answer that for you. They do not at all. And in what way are these things that are on this list here? And again, I will tell you right now, none of them are. And so what this would tell me at 2:30 is, man, I said I wanted to get these things done, right? I said these are my weekly goals, but look how I'm spending my time today. Now, are these things valuable? Yeah, that call with my colleague was super helpful, actually. Is making a video something that I eventually had to get done? And yes, but I just got interested in it, started doing it. So it's not that these things are bad, but what it is they're not part of these plans that I made. And so, at 3:30 in the afternoon, I might look at this when I get back from the dentist and be like, wow, I didn't even touch this stuff. And I know that I'm going to work till 7:30. So at this point, I might say, that's it. I got to get focused on this list now. It kind of keeps you accountable, if that makes sense. Okay. Then the back of that page that you just created, if you use a notebook method, if you're using a planner, you can just use a plain planner page, like a lined page. This page is going to be for notes, and referring back to my session outline. You remember that I had part of this day where I said we were going to talk about showing your work. Do you remember being in math class and the teacher's like, you can't just put the right answer. I need to see your work. You have to write out the equation. Well, some of us do all of our work during the day in our heads, and we never write the equation. And the problem is you may come back later and be like, okay, well, I got the right answer, but I can't remember how I got there, right? This note page is like your scratch paper that you do your work on when you're working out math equations when you were in school. This is kind of your working page. It is not meant to be pretty. It's not meant to be perfect, but it is meant to be able to put some little details down and jog your memory. So if you make a call, you're going to just write down, and maybe I'm just going to make up a name that I called Caroline regarding the venue, right? She will call me back tomorrow. Okay, then later I might be that I looked up the printer, and his phone number is blah, 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 whatever it is. And later I called, and he needs the work. I'm just making this all up. Needs the work by Thursday at 2 p.m., right? So that's what this is. This is just kind of and you can do it in different ways. You might want to do it in blocks. You could do it in columns. I just kind of right. And by the time I'm done, sometimes there's an extra note here circled, or there's it really is not pretty. But later, it's so helpful because I have a lot of little details I don't need. I don't need to go back and find that phone number. Or, yeah, that's due on Thursday. I don't have to be like, what did they say about that? And the great thing is, because I wrote it on the back of my daily page, I know that these are all things I took care of and notes from Monday, September 9th. And later I could be like, no, look, printer guy, I can look back at my notes. We talked on Monday, September 9th, and you told me that you needed the work by Thursday at 2. So don't tell me now that you can't get it done or whatever, So this is just kind of a really helpful way to make sure that your day, you plan for success. You have a way of knowing how your day is going. You have a way of even making little adjustments and auto corrections if you're getting off track, right? And you can keep your mind on what's coming up and what the most important things are. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are interested in watching more of this series and more of the videos, it's super easy. You can follow me on YouTube, and on YouTube, my channel is Starfish Living. You can also look me up by my name, Jennifer Lasik. You can also follow me on Instagram or Twitter, and my handle is starfish_living. I often will post links to the latest video when it's up, so that's a great way to get videos, is just to follow me. And then, of course, you can also follow me on Facebook, and on Facebook, you can just look for the page. It's Starfish Living. And also, I also post things on there. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I hope it's really helpful. Also, feel free to email me if you have any questions, or if you want to, tell me how things worked or didn't work for you, or if you have ideas or suggestions, success stories, problems. I'm super responsive, and I absolutely love interacting with people about planning and time management. So please don't ever feel you're imposing. I would love to hear from you. So anyway, have a great day. Thank you so much. And remember, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. You don't have time not to plan. Thanks so much.